Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What would you say if I told you there's a book that can teach you how to win The Bachelor?
What would you say if I told you producers caught multiple finalists reading that book in this season that's currently airing?
What would you say if I told you the producers don't want anyone to know that their show has been compromised?
How do we know all this? We wrote that book.
I'm Lizzie Pace.
And I'm Chad Kulchin.
We're the authors of How to Win the Bachelor and the hosts of the Game of Roses podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we break down all the biggest plays, errors, and MVPs in the game of reality television.
Listen to Game of Roses wherever you get your podcasts and go to howtowinthebachelor.com to get our book.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.
Hi, Kathy here. We've just realised with Game of Thrones coming back tonight that we have absolutely no memory of the last season because it's been 18 months since it went out. So we're kind of desperately catching up at our house. And we thought it might be helpful for people if we re-released our review of the final episode of last season so that you can kind of recap that way if you don't have time to watch it, which is really hard to do. And if you're interested in our reviews of the newest season, which launches tonight, and we'll be putting our first episode up Monday night over on our Patreon. So if you want to go over there, it's www.patreon.com/theCinemile. Okay, enjoy. Bye.
All right, hello, it's Dave here, and I'm with my wife Kathy.
Hello.
We're doing our last ever Mile of Thrones.
Yes.
Well, until the next season.
Until the next season, and we're doing it because it's a bank holiday.
A stunningly
gorgeous,
sunny
with sunglasses
bank
on
holiday.
Because it's after 11 o'clock, so not at 6 in the morning.
Yes.
Which is really nice.
Oh, it's such a nice lie-in.
Yeah.
Didn't have to get up early. I don't have to go to work. This is all working out great.
And no baby for us.
No, still no baby.
So
I think that our baby has... You forget that it's a fact that babies can hear everything outside of the womb, particularly at this stage. So the baby's been hearing the first 6 episodes.
And the baby can speak English.
And the baby understands everything. So the baby kind of wants to know, I think, what happens in the end.
But wouldn't it want to come out
Doesn't
and
want
watch
to
it for
disrupt.
itself?
No, the baby wants to experience the Game of Thrones the auditory way.
Okay, well, luckily we had so many viewers who wrote in, or listeners saying, can you wait till after your Game of Thrones review to have your baby? So your wish has come true.
Yes, and we also had a lot of name suggestions from people saying that we should name the baby Danny or Drogon.
And we're not doing that. But thank you for your kind suggestions. And what else? Oh yeah, we were even thinking that we'd miss this episode, and because we're so conscious of our viewers, we were going to line up someone else to do a review, but obviously we didn't need to do that because we're here. Now, just going to move a bit because there's some darkling dogs in our neighbour's garden. And... so, very quickly, this is going to be a very long episode. It's approximately 79 minutes, I think.
We're now down the side of the house to give you all of it.
So it's approximately 79 minutes, which is insane.
What's it called? What's
the
the
longest ever episode of Game of Thrones, and that's longer.
Is it
than,
actually? Is that a fact?
And it's longer than some movies at that duration. And
it's the length that most movies should be.
Yeah, exactly. And it's called The Dragon and the Wolf, which is a pretty cool
Oh,
title. Yes.
amazing.
So I haven't gone online.
So that means that's Danny and Jon, right?
I guess so.
Yeah,
or it
it's
could
House
be Bran.
Targaryen and House Stark. Or could be Bran.
Yeah, you keep forgetting about Bran. Dave foolishly was looking at his phone and saw a bit of a spoiler.
Well,
I blame no one but you.
Yeah, I'll discuss it afterwards.
Yeah.
When I saw.
And then, so briefly, my expectations for this episode are, I think Cersei's been really absent, so she needs to come back with a bang.
Yeah.
We need to see a zombie dragon.
Well, we're likely going to see the meeting between. I don't think you're going to see a zombie dragon in this episode.
Really?
No.
We have to wait 18 months for another for a zombie dragon.
Yeah, I really don't. I think that's the last. And I also don't think you're going to see the White Walkers in this episode.
Okay.
I think this is Cersei meeting Danny and Jon in King's Landing, I suspect. And I think basically every character, because now all characters are hitched with one of those sides, right?
Yeah.
So basically every character in Game of Thrones is going to be at King's Landing at the same time.
And she's going to laugh at their stupid zombie gift.
She's going to be like, oh, I think Cersei's going to feign interest at the beginning, being like, oh, that's so interesting. Oh, you have a zombie? We should totes team up. And then she's going to unleash whatever trap she's planning, which is probably going to be awesome. And hopefully, I'm hoping that Game of Thrones is going to finally remember what show it is and kill off maybe.
Oh, well, this is
12
what I've written
characters.
down. I actually had to write down what I wanted to say to this intro because I'm so tired because this baby just, I would say,
I know, it's keeping me up
kicked
at
the
night.
crap out of me last night. So I think something bad's going to happen between the Stark sisters. That's my feeling.
Yes.
And I've
the
made a
building up
note
to
that either Cersei, Jaime, Tyrion, Jon, Sansa, Arya, or Daenerys have to die, or this show's a joke.
Yeah, at
One of
least
those-
one of those.
one of
Okay,
those.
so we're going to come back to that list, which you've written down.
Yeah.
And if none of them die in this episode,
It's a fail.
then you have failed.
Yeah,
You have failed Game of Thrones.
you have. Okay, bye.
Okay, that's it? I know how abruptly you want to end these
I'm
things.
really tired.
All right, let's go watch it. Bye. Right, that's it. That's all your Game of Thrones for the next year and a half or whenever. So let's just we'll do our general thoughts
Yeah.
on that, and then we'll get into some details, scene by scene. So that took us, just for the record, that took us about 2 to 2.5 hours to watch, because we had a lot of breaks,
Yeah, it was.
went out for snacks.
Yeah, I needed sugar, so I went to the shop for some junk food, which is terrible. But I was like, I'm really tired, and that dragged for me, that episode. I do you know what? I'm probably not in the right state of mind to be watching it.
Oh, you mean that your body's about to just like have a baby at any minute?
Yeah.
so-
So I actually needed to go out and get some sugar, and now we're walking around, but it's like quite sunny, so my energy levels are bad. I apologise. Yeah,
All
I
right,
just
well,
thought
let's
it
pick it
dragged
up.
a bit, and like my overall impression was that it was just entirely predictable, and like
No, there were no surprise- I
One
mean-
thing surprised me: the Sansa Littlefinger stuff. All the rest of it, the major
okay.
plot stuff, I entirely predicted it, and of course it was great to see it all unfold, and I enjoyed the spectacle of it, but.
It was
But
very by the
ultimately,
numbers, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was pretty much
no shock.
exactly as we expected. No big surprises except that. And
And by that you mean Littlefinger and Sansa?
yeah, we'll talk about that later. But the your list of people dying, not a single person.
I know, and I thought, look, am I being pedantic? I'm expecting nobody died bar potentially Tormund right at the end, and we don't even know if he did or not.
No.
So now, my Game
Littlefinger
of
died.
Thrones. Oh, sorry, Littlefinger died, and like that is interesting because he's a major like manipulator. But and maybe I'm being reductive saying people should die in Game of Thrones, but really now at this point, all this whole season served to be is just set up for the final season.
I mean, when you okay, let's just get into detail, because I think I've sort of disappointed about how the whole Cersei confrontation went.
Yeah. Okay. And normally when we're doing these, we either break down by location or by characters to make it more digestible. But actually, we're just going to go through it by linear fashion through the episode because everyone met everyone in this episode. So there's no point in trying to kind of split it out that way.
Go.
So we basically start with most of the episode takes place in King's Landing, and we start with Jaime and Bronn in kind of a fun exchange where they talk about men.
I
without-
enjoyed this scene.
men
I liked
without
watching.
cocks.
I liked watching the Unsullied sort of form out the front.
Yeah, I like that. And
First
then I
time I've
liked
seen Grey Worm in a while.
I liked watching the Dothraki like run through them then. So the two forces combined, like
Yeah.
the Unsullied are so still.
They're very intimidating.
and the Dothraki are so violent, and together they're very intimidating, yeah. And they're getting burning pitch. And then we get to...
I enjoyed all the stuff. Bronn was just excellent in this scene.
Yeah, he's good. And like Cersei, then we get to her, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but her wigs really bother me. And it was particularly weird in this. It was almost like kind of an orangey yellow, and she looked a bit strange.
She looks
Anyway,
like Joffrey.
Yeah, she looks weird. And then she says to the mountain, if this all goes to pot, kill the silverhead bitch, then kill my brother, then kill Jon Snow.
Yeah.
So I quite enjoyed that.
Except, spoiler alert, nothing went to plot.
Yeah, it's just... And then we get to...
was
So
all
this is kind
very
of the meat
bleh.
of the episode, where we're in the kind of dragon zoo arena sanctuary place.
Dragon Zoo.
And initially,
I guess it was a dragon zoo, wasn't
this
it?
is literally.
Do you
we've
think they had it open for like as an attraction? You could come and see the dragons.
I don't know.
Do not pet the dragons.
I didn't really understand what it was. I didn't know if it's where they fought, where they were held captive, where people came to see them, or a bit of all three.
I feel like the book readers would have been shitting themselves over this, but
It looked cool.
it feels like an extra detail. But they kind of explained it in a line of exposition on the way in, so the dragons don't see divisions of who owns what or whatever, so they were just basically going around eating whatever they wanted, killing whoever they wanted, because they're just creatures, and so they had to chain them up essentially because there was a million people in King's Landing, and they were just
And then these are all the people
dangerous.
that we see there, and this is just when I kind of lost the plot a bit. We've got Tyrion, Jon, Davos, Pod, Brienne, the Hound, Jorah, Theon, Varys,
Euron,
and then
the Mountain.
they're kind of all there, and
Cersei.
then Cersei. Then before Cersei arrives, we kind of have Pod and Tyrion like catching up. We've the Hound and Brienne catching up. Tyrion and Bronn chatting, and I'm like, do you know what? I'm sick of. This is like 3 reunions in the space of 30 seconds. Like at this point, everyone just knows everyone.
Yeah, but they have to acknowledge that, and this was exactly like when they were Beyond the Wall in the last episode, and we got all these little one-on-ones. I loved all that stuff. I like all that. But you're missing.
It just felt like okay, we've done all this season, and now we're just doing it again.
But it's fun and it's throwaway, and the episode's 79 minutes long, and it lasted 2 minutes, so it's fine.
Okay.
But also, you don't have the history with these characters because you didn't watch seasons 2 to 5 or whatever. So you didn't remember. You didn't know that Pod was friends with Tyrion and Bronn or any of that.
No,
right?
so I guess I was just bored by them.
It doesn't mean anything to you.
Yeah.
Whereas, and this is what I was kind of saying to you before about, you said this at the beginning of the podcast, that you don't feel like you missed anything by skipping all those seasons of Game of Thrones because you were able to just fill in on the plot via Wikipedia and just hearing about it. But you did miss out on the character interactions and spending time with these characters.
But
so
I'm
I think
still
stuff
glad
like
I
this
skipped
isn't
three scenes just to make up 2 minutes in the finale, like of someone saying hello to somebody.
No, you can't justify this. That's not how you watch
Okay,
TV.
come on, we've so much to get through. I did enjoy that the Hound and Tyrion have a brief exchange, and Tyrion says there's always some Clegane cunt to help the Lannisters, just as the Mountain arrives.
Yeah.
With Cersei, Euron Greyjoy, and her Hand of the King.
And then the Hand of the Mountain finally had their face off, which everyone had been really excited about.
And it was really dull.
But no fighting. Nobody fought anyone in this episode.
And also, it was interesting that Cersei has 4 people and Daenerys had like 100 people.
Yeah,
in terms of
everyone
gangs.
is Team Dany at
Yeah.
this stage. Who's Cersei got? And by the end of this episode, she's got one
got
less.
nobody. And then the Hound says to his brother, "You're even fucking uglier than I am now."
The Hound had some great lines, as always.
The brother's just like says nothing because he's Frankenstein's monster. And then we're
So
like,
then
"Where's
they
Dany?"
Then they all
Awkward.
take a seat. Everyone's kind of waiting for Dany, and she obviously has to make a big entrance. She's fashionably late.
We knew
Shows
she
up-
was going to show up on the
shows up
dragon.
on her dragon.
Stupid though. She should have showed up on one
Yeah,
dragon.
exactly. Show up with one. Don't show up with 2, because you show up with 2, it implies that you're missed down at third.
Yeah,
which Cersei
makes no
obviously
sense.
Figured out.
But I love when she got off the dragon, then just like it was no big deal, just sits down. And then Cersei's like, "You're late."
But Cersei goes, "We've been waiting for ages," and they'd only just sat down like 10 seconds.
And then Euron Greyjoy just
But
suddenly
how-
starts showboating.
How convenient is the timing of all that?
Yeah, it's all ludicrous.
Like, I mean, whatever. it's a
Let's
TV
not
show.
even skip. Just
Yeah,
Euron-
I really enjoyed Euron showboating.
threatens Theon and then
literally-
immediately says to Tyrion, "You're really small," and Tyrion's like, "I know that we would have killed you if you grew up in my tribe."
I love that he interrupted Tyrion's intro just to start shit talking.
I know. And then Jaime's like, "Sit down," and Cersei's like, "Sit the fuck down."
Yeah.
So that was the end of him. Then we have Jon speaking. He hadn't spoken yet, and he tells Cersei all about the big bad world out there. And then the Hound brings the zombie in, which was quite fun. And for a second, when he opened the box, we were like, "Wait, is the zombie even there?"
Can I say something though?
Yeah.
So, Dany and Tyrion, whatever, Jon, they've all been invited to King's Landing. Cersei is like fine, but they're all her enemies, and they're all in one place. They're all at risk here of anything happening. And she allows them to bring in a box with an unknown
Yeah.
horrible creature inside in it right in front of her. Like, how bad is the security? You wouldn't be able to get that through at an airport.
Yeah, that's a really
The
good
giant
point.
box with a zombie inside in it, and then they all just sit there watching while the Hound empties the box, and it basically just runs up to her and like gets within an inch of her. Like, luckily they had measured the chain to the exact measurements of the distance from the box to her throne, or it would have eaten her, and the whole thing would have been pointless.
Well, I think Cersei. Yeah, I mean, it
Also,
does
the
beg
mountain
question,
didn't react to that.
It begs the question, like, why is Cersei doing any of this that I still don't quite understand?
I did enjoy. Okay, here's what I liked about this. She did. I thought. What's her name who plays Cersei was very good in this scene.
Lena Headey, yeah, she's
Lena
brilliant.
Headey. She was visibly shaken.
Well,
like,
the Hound
and
let
her
her go. The zombie
shoulders-
go right up to her face with the chain. Like, that was terrifying.
But she was like, her shoulders were hunched, and I thought.
Whereas
Jamie
she was really good when the dragon came in. She acted completely like, I don't give a fuck.
Jamie
she could have
was
been less
very-
impressed by the dragon.
yeah. Jamie was very shaken. He asked, he sort of whispered, like, how many are there? Like, you could see that the demonstration that they had planned of showing just one White Walker was actually very effective.
It was worth it, and it did make me
the job.
respect. And I like the way John said, "This is the fate of everyone in the world. Only one war matters: the Great War." And Euron's like, "I'm out of here."
I loved this. I don't know, but also his first line, he goes over, sort of strokes the hair of the zombie creepily, and then he said, "Can they swim?" And then at the second he said that, we were just like, "Oh, he's going home.
He's out of there."
Which
And then
is
my
like,
favourite thing
why
is,
not? He lives on an island.
Right before he says we're out of here, we had an interesting conversation where Dave said, or right after he said, "I'm out of here," Dave said, "Oh, he's being really cowardly like Theon." I'm like, "No, he's being smart. He's being very smart. Like, why the fuck would you stay and fight zombies if you could go and live on an island and have them never attack you?"
But it's cowardly.
I think it's pragmatic. I don't think it's cowardly at all. And I love that.
Well, we
right
know
bef-
where you'd be when the
right
when the
before
White
he
Walkers
leaves,
march south.
he chats up Daenerys. He's like, "Look me up," what everyone says.
Yeah, I love that. Go back to your island. Wait
That
till
was really
everyone's dead.
enjoyable. And then Cersei surprises us all by saying the crown accepts your truth. And what I really enjoyed is she just says basically the King of the North isn't to take sides. I know Ned Stark's son will be true to his word. And I enjoyed that
Right about that.
she acknowledges him as the King of the North, which a lot of people haven't done actually, including Daenerys wasn't acknowledging it. And then I just thought it was a really good throwback to even she knows how honourable Ned Stark was, and she fully trusts the fact that his son would be honourable. And I thought that was really interesting coming from her. I wouldn't have thought that she would put that level of consideration into people like that. And then Jon ruins everything.
No, hang on. Okay, so he was in an impossible position, right?
He wasn't.
I know,
There's
but
no sense of like any sort of diplomacy or like Jon's whole life's mission is to stop the White Walkers, right? Cersei's about to help him, and he says, "Oh no, I'm true to my word. I've already bent my knee to Daenerys because I love her." And
he wasn't going to lie, and that's like, but that's the whole foundation of his character and the Stark's character. And yes, it as he mentions afterwards when Tyrion and even Dany like chewed him out over his decision.
he just drones on and on about false promises.
He said like, yeah, I know that's what got my father killed, but that he can't. He said. Oh, he had a big speech about how just one lie compounds another lie, and that's not the world they're building. And I admire that. I like.
Yeah, but the whole point is
I like rhetoric and principles.
Yeah, but he's made the bigger point already that the war between humans doesn't matter right now. The war is between the humans and the White Walkers. And then he's directly undermining his own argument by carrying on about how great Daenerys is when he's supposed to be working for the wider mission of going against the White Walkers. So he's actually not even being true to himself properly. He's just being an idiot.
Yeah, but then what sort of a leader is he going to be on the other side of it?
A leader who stopped the White Walkers marching on Winterfell.
I know, but what would have happened then is that he would have had to be out of the war between Dany and Cersei.
But he wouldn't have had to be. He could join at a later play.
No, but that's his whole thing. That's not his character, and he wouldn't be able to.
Yeah, but at some
fundamentally
point,
do that.
inevitably, Cersei would have tried to march on Winterfell, and then he could have justifiably defended his castle against her.
No, but it's not about that. Anyway, look,
Anyway, and I just like the way it basically says Tyrion says we're fucked, and Cersei will definitely murder you if you try and talk to her. And Brienne tries to say to Jaime, like, this is crazy, stop, like, and fuck loyalty, and he's just like walks off with his sister. And then the next scene is Jaime and Tyrion kind of both referring to themselves as idiots, and Jaime says we should go say goodbye, one idiot to another, which is kind of a nice scene.
Yeah, I like that. And then we have this great confrontation between Tyrion and Cersei. I thought it was really, really good.
And the mountain.
And the mountain hanging.
He was just like chilling out
hanging
right
back.
next to them.
Tyrion did that sort of action hero Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon equivalent, where you put your forehead up against the gun and you say, "Do it, just do it, okay? I'm
Like
crazy.
twice
I don't
in this
care."
episode, our brother said to her, "Go on, kill me,"
Go on,
and
kill
she
me, yeah.
seriously considered it.
And she was close to doing it both times.
And she says, "I'm not surprised you like her. She's a foreign whore."
They had a lot of good snappy back and forth. I kind of miss these two
I enjoyed
being
the
in
scene.
the same city.
Yeah.
Like, let's not forget they were there for 3 seasons
I
together.
really enjoyed this scene, but I was expecting him to die at the end of it. And I know I'm obsessed with someone dying, but I just thought, lame. Why would she let Tyrion go? She
But how
hates
come-
Tyrion.
Okay, so this scene ends. He figures out that she's pregnant, and then next time we see each other, she's basically agreed to help them. But we kind of miss how he convinced her to do that. Was it just that you're
Well, I
pregnant?
don't think he
you
convinced
gotta-
her. I think she's just conniving. She wanted to make it look like the reason that she has given in is because something happened between her and Tyrion. In reality, she's not given in at all. So she's
Yeah.
using Tyrion. But I did enjoy when he said, like he pours himself a drink and then pours one for her, which was quite fun. And he says, "I loved your children. You know it in your heart if there's anything left of it." And he also says about Daenerys, she would have burned King's Landing if I hadn't told her not to. And Cersei's like, "Well, then she's no better than me." And he says, "Well, actually, no, because she keeps herself in check and she's chosen an advisor who she'll actually listen to and who controls her impulses." And Cersei's like, "Whatever." It was a bit silly, though. She also says that maybe Euron Greyjoy was right. And that's when I thought, actually, I think she's faking it, because she would never say someone's right to run off and retreat to an island. And then she's like rubbing her stomach. I don't know, it was all a bit... It's a bit of a weird end to a scene for him just to say you're pregnant and then for the scene to cut, because we know she's pregnant, so that wasn't actually particularly interesting. And then we've got Jon and Daenerys, and she's saying, "I respect what you did, but I don't like it." And they talk about the demise of dragons, and then there's some heavy signposting here.
They basically go into a little alcove together, and
she
it
says,
gets all
"I'm
shadowy.
infertile," and
They get
he's
really
like,
close.
"Maybe you're not infertile. Why don't we test that out later?"
Who knows, eh?
And then he says, "It appears Tyrion's assessment is correct, we're fucked," which I found really weird, because normally Jon's very humourless, and this was my first, probably an only laugh of the episode.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to see Jon. And then Cersei struts back in again. So this is all still in the Dragon Arena, and she's wearing the most amazing dress I've probably ever seen.
I thought this was
she
all-
looked amazing.
It's cool.
And she
that
says,
sort
"We'll
of
face the
tight
darkness
chain in.
together," and we're going, wow. At this point I kind of bought her. I wasn't fully doubting her
didn't.
at this point.
I didn't. She always has a backup plan. But I'll admit, I enjoyed all these interactions. I thought the dialogue was great. I loved that it was sort of an awkward dinner party with all of them hanging out together. But the whole thing just didn't amount to anything. And
No.
it's like, what was Cersei's great plan? She just lied and isn't going to help them. That's it.
Yeah, why
Does that,
did
like-
she meet them? Why is she doing this?
This
I mean,
is the
she's a point
same-
later on when she says they don't need me. She's like, if they're going to defeat the White Walkers, they can do it without me. They've got dragons and fire defeats them. Like, she's right. They don't need her.
But like, this is the same woman who in Series 6 conspired to get all her enemies in the same place at the same time, and then exploded them all with green
Yeah,
fire.
I was expecting her to do something like
She
that.
should have done something badass and cool, and there should have been a big fight, and that should have been it.
Yeah,
But
she
this
didn't
is
do
just, like,
anything.
Very underwhelming.
Yeah.
And not very Cersei, I thought.
And so that's kind of the end of all these guys being together. And then we for the first time cut to Winterfell, which we were wondering, was Winterfell going to show up at all, actually. A really
Well,
visually...
I had to. No, we said you have to resolve the sisters.
Yeah, the
plot. You
sisters.
can't leave that hanging for you.
And then it was such a visually dark scene, and it's such a sunny day. Actually, we struggled to see this.
Yeah, it was hard to see.
But yeah, Dave called this scene. Dave said she's baiting Littlefinger. I wasn't sure.
Well, I must say, shout out to listener and friend of the show, Lee Gant, who did call this episodes ago.
Yeah.
Said that Sansa is playing Littlefinger.
It's hard to know with Sansa because she's so unreadable.
I wasn't sure. I actually bought this. I bought that she was that stupid.
Yeah, and
But
he's like,
I was
always
going
imagine
along
the
with it.
worst of somebody. And then I did
No, he
think...
basically said, "Let's play a little game, like Jigsaw."
And then she said, at the same time as well, when she was imagining the worst of Arya, I thought, well, Arya has done herself no favours, so I could see why Sansa would believe this stuff.
Yeah.
So then that was kind of
Anyway, let's
a
come
little
back to that
scene,
later.
and then we got back to the war strategy where it's kind of Daenerys and her advisors, and they're questioning should she fly or should she sail, and she's like,
so boring.
we
Like,
sail
how am I
together.
gonna travel?
But she's like, we sail together, and her and John kind of moon at each other, and then
Yeah.
Jorah looks really sad. Did you catch that?
No, I missed
Yeah,
that.
they showed Jorah for a second.
Oh, he knows what's going on.
And then I just thought,
He's like, oh, I'll travel with you.
and again, then this is where, like, again, I missed out on core Theon Reek plot.
Yeah.
I don't care about Theon. I think he's so boring. At this point, when he shows up, I think it's like just this crap subplot that I've no interest in.
I mean, Theon has very little left to do. He's got
He's
very
so
little.
pointless.
I guess he's got to redeem himself a little bit. I kind of
But
like.
he's redeemed himself. He saved Sansa last season. Like,
exactly.
whatever.
Or he saved Arya. Oh, Sansa, sorry.
Yeah, I know. I just said that.
I know. Sorry, I corrected you and then corrected myself.
Okay, and then, but I mean, it's a nice moment. John forgives him. Theon's like, I wish I was like you. Yeah.
I think that. Do we really need, in the grand scheme of things, do we really need another Theon redemption and him going to save his sister? I kind of like that there's a symmetry to it because she tried to save him. She was the only one who tried
But
to
who
save him.
cares?
from
They're like
Ramsay.
C-list characters.
Yeah.
And like at this point, we're talking about the final of this series with this much going on. Now, there's way more important stuff to be showing us
I
than
guess
this.
we kind of want to see him defeat Euron, but really, I mean, you're right. There's not.
And John's like, Ned is
time
part
for
of
any
you.
of this.
And then Theon goes to the beach and tries to rouse the troops. And we're like, why would anyone listen to Theon? Like, the troops just want to get out of there. The man spits on him. They start having this stupid fight. And it was quite funny when he was kicking Theon in the groin and Theon had no reaction
Yes,
whatsoever.
it's one of the only times where not having any balls is actually an advantage.
And then Theon like kills him with a rock, and then everyone suddenly is following Theon. And I was thinking,
Yeah.
no, they're not a pack of wolves. Like, you
He
don't just
showed
take down the
them-
leader and then everyone follows you, like, really subservient. They would still be like, fuck off, Theon.
Yeah, you're right. Didn't quite.
It
ring
didn't make
true.
any sense. And then he's like, for Yara!
Maybe there's sort of a, I don't know, maybe there's an Iron Islander sort of code.
No,
if
it
you
just-
murder someone,
It doesn't make sense.
you
And he
automatically
didn't-
take their place.
He
I
didn't
don't
even do a good job of it. And then he baptizes his new self with, like, sea water. I thought it was so overtly
Is that
symbolic.
what he was doing?
He was like kneeled down in the sea, and he comes from like an ocean or the Iron Island or whatever, and starts like putting water on his face. And I just thought, oh my god, is this actually what they're doing with this scene? I thought it was pathetic.
He proved he has the biggest balls by having no balls.
And then we cut back to Sansa, and it's this beautifully snowy scene of her kind of up in a wall, which was evocative of the wall her and, or might have been the same wall that her and Theon had jumped off in the last season, was it?
Don't know.
Seemed to cut to what looked like last season. It looked really snowy and beautiful. And then she's like, summon my sister to the Great Hall. And I fully believed that she was going to get Arya killed at this point.
No, I kind of had my suspicions at this stage, and
This was the only fun of the episode. This was the only intrigue. And then
yeah.
she's sitting with Bran next to her, and we were like, oh my god, we've completely forgotten about Bran.
we both went, oh, Bran! I forgot he was there or existed. This all-powerful, all-seeing three-eyed raven just hanging out.
Just chilling.
Um,
And then she says, honour demands I defend Winterfell from those who want to betray us. And then she goes, Littlefinger, you, or whatever his name
Lord
is.
Baelish. She
I'm
goes,
genuinely shocked. I gasped.
no, I can't believe you gasped. I swear to God, this is the lamest moment
It wasn't. It was
of Game
fun.
of Thrones ever.
It was like a classic Murder She Wrote
It
moment.
was
like,
exactly a
"J'accuse!"
Murder She Wrote moment. It was pathetic. I
It
actually
wasn't.
laughed out loud. It
This was the
embarrassing.
point where I was like, I'm so over this episode, I'm going to go and have a nap. And then this happened and it perked me right up. So.
No, it had the opposite effect on me. I was like, this is so embarrassingly stupid.
No.
it
It was
was-
really fun. She confronted him with everything.
It was the lamest confrontation
And then it was
ever.
the three-star
and she didn't
kids.
pull it off. The way it's just like, psych. Gotcha. You thought I was talking about my sister.
And then Bran's like, I've seen everything because I'm the world's biggest creep. But I really like the way the 3-star kids banded together finally. And then she
I mean-
says, there's a game I like to play.
Oh,
Come on, that was
lame,
fun.
lame.
That was fun. She turned it on him. And she said, I'm a slow learner, it's true.
I mean-
but I learn. Which I really liked.
I mean, I liked, the scene won me over towards the end, and I liked that we finally got to see Littlefinger on the opposite foot and
and
trying.
he's begging, like he's on his
desperately
knees,
begging, yeah.
groveling.
And I think this is a very appropriate end for a very sinister and evil character, and you don't often get endings like this.
He
for
got
evil
his comeuppance,
characters.
like he fucked
Oh, absolutely.
He started it all. He's killed, or basically behind the death of their mother and father, their brother. He's like, I loved your mother, I loved you. And she says,
and
thank
yet
you.
betrayed her.
Thank you for so many lessons. You've
And
taught me
yet-
a lot. That was cool.
Yeah.
And then Arya's like, slits his throat. And he's a really slow, painful death while everyone just watches.
Yeah, look, in the end, I think fitting end for Littlefinger. Well done. I thought the whole thing was very
And I thought
mishandled.
Aidan Gillen, I know we slag his accent, but he was really good in this episode.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
But like, okay. Can we unpick this a little bit? Like,
Yeah.
so Arya and Sansa were conspiring the whole time against Littlefinger. So why were they in the previous episode?
No, I don't think they were conspiring. I
So
didn't
at
think
what
Arya,
stage do you think they flipped?
I didn't think Arya knew that this was going to happen.
She absolutely knew.
Really?
Oh, 100%. Are you kidding me?
I thought Sansa was keeping it all very tight-lipped.
No.
Only Bran knew.
Because Arya... No, I'm sorry. As soon as she says, Lord Baelish, then Arya gives this little sort of smile and turns toward him as well, like, gotcha.
Oh, I don't know.
Absolutely she was in on it, which means...
Well, we don't know how much
correct
time
me
has
if I'm
passed,
wrong, somebody.
But we don't know how much time has passed since the last episode.
But I think the whole thing, they were planning a fake out from the start.
No, there was no way. There was a genuinely terrifying scene between them in the last episode.
Okay, well,
I think
that's...
it's between the episodes, or it was between the scene with her and Littlefinger and then the scene with her killing him. Her and Arya conferred then.
Anyway, whenever it happened, it wasn't worth it. It was lame. It was cheeseball. They just did it for a shock moment to fool the viewers.
You're saying that like categorically it was lame and it wasn't worth it. When someone is telling you that was their most enjoyed bit of the episode.
No, fine. It's a subjective thing. I'm just telling you what I thought.
Okay.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I'm glad
Well,
if
you're
anyone
lucky
else
this-
who enjoyed it, but did not land for me. I actually am embarrassed.
You're
for
lucky
everyone
this
involved.
scene happened because I was fit to turn it off. And then we go back to Jaime and Cersei in that awesome map room.
Oh yeah,
So cool.
Oh, I love that map.
Yeah,
room.
that map room's really cool. And then she's so horrible. She says, "I always knew you were the stupidest Lannister."
Yeah.
You're talking to your lover twin. You know, is that how you would speak to him? And she's saying, "I intend to stay amongst the living. I want to let the monsters kill each other." She has a very good point. She says they have dragons.
I
What
love
can
the
we
way
add?
you keep siding with Cersei and Euron in this.
No, I'm not siding with them, but she's right. If the Dothraki, the Unsullied, and the dragons can't defeat them, what is the point in us being there?
Yeah, but then Jaime's right, because whoever wins, we lose. They're going to come down south and
He
kill
says,
them.
"Yeah, both sides will march
So they
south
may
and
as
kill us
well.
all."
It's actually Jaime's right, because she's better off in the original plan she had, which was, I will go and help you and remember that, and I'm not asking for anything. And they probably would have gone easier on her afterwards, right?
Yeah, but she doesn't care. Like, Cersei doesn't want Daenerys going easy on her. Cersei wants to be queen or be dead. Like, she has no interest in alliances or not being the queen. Like, that would be such a strange thing for her to
Again,
want.
I just found this also disappointing that her big plan was just to do nothing.
I know, and then she's like putting Jaime down again. You never listen to father. All you want to do is hunt and fight. And then she admits that her and Euron had plotted separately, and he's gone to Essos.
He's gone to Essos to get the Golden Company, which is a big army of mercenaries which are going to come and defend King's Landing.
And then he says, you know, I was like, who does he think he is? Jon Snow? He's like, I gave my word. I'm going to ride up north.
Well, Jaime kind of... Yeah, Jaime's a very conflicting sort of character throughout the whole of Game of Thrones. He does sort of veer towards dark and light often, but he is essentially a knight, and he is kind of noble in his own way.
Yeah, but he's
even though
completely beholden to her. I mean, I think what smarted him so much in this scene, I think it was more personal. I think it was that he realised her and Euron had conspired without telling him.
Yes.
And I think that's why he ultimately was like, fuck you.
But also,
I don't think it was the honour thing.
they've been sort of rocky for the past while, these two. So
I mean,
think
they've
it's
been very
gearing up
intimate this
towards
season.
Yeah.
And then this is the second time she says, I told you no one walks away from me. So it's the second time in the episode where we think she's in a situation where she's going to kill her brother. Both times I thought she should have done it, and she didn't, and I just don't buy it. One of them should have been killed.
But why not? They're still her brothers. She can't quite do it. They're still, because if you think about it, all she's harping on about is family, and that's all that mattered to her.
But she hates Tyrion.
But he's still her brother. Something stopped her.
She's
anyway.
tried to get him killed before multiple times. I don't know. Again, I love Jaime, and I just thought this scene was really disappointing. And then he just rides off on a horse on his own, and I'm like, who do you think you're going to help? It's just you and a horse.
Yeah, but he's finally just had enough, and I'm glad. I want Jaime to be team
not Cersei.
Team virtue.
And then so basically,
Cersei has nobody now.
Yeah, Cersei has nobody. Apparently,
Cersei
Euron's
has
coming back.
The Mountain, and she has Euron, and she has Dr. Frankenstein.
But it's almost like the show has made her insignificant because the show's message is the bigger story is the White Walkers, and at this point, Cersei has nobody, and who gives a fuck because she's a nobody now.
Yeah.
Did you feel that? Like, the rest of them, regardless of what Cersei's doing, the rest of them are going to be marching north. So it almost makes what she's doing pointless. And then we cut back.
Do you feel like with this show, like the best thing about this show was the political intrigue and the backstabbing? It was never the White Walkers. The White Walkers were this sort of looming threat which sort of pervaded the whole thing.
The White Walkers are like a disaster, like in a movie when an earthquake happens.
Yeah.
The earthquake's not interesting.
They're not
No.
as villains. They're quite scary and intimidating, and they're cool when you get battle scenes with them. But they're not like interesting. They're not unpredictable.
No.
They're not human. Cersei is an interesting villain.
Exactly. Littlefinger, for all his faults, was very interesting.
Very interesting.
So he's gone. She's been kind of essentially immobilised.
So if the last season is just Jon and Dany united against the White Walkers, then that's not particularly interesting.
No.
Because the intrigue is gone.
I have to say I've got concerns about the last season after this. But anyway, then we cut to Bran. He's just sitting in a room,
So
staring
Sam
at the
shows
fire.
up, we should say. Sam,
And Sam's
Sam
like,
arrives
hey,
at Winterfell.
oh, you remember me? And Bran says, I remember everything.
He's like, what have you been up to? Oh, I'm the Three-Eyed Raven now. Okay.
And then I'm like, Sam, you had one job, which was to be a maester. Like, fuck off back to where maesters live. Like, he's
No, but he
so crap.
had to deliver this one piece of information.
Yeah. And then, you know, Bran's all, Jon needs to know the truth. His last name is Sand. He's not a bastard. Oh, he's a bastard. And then...
Sorry, Sand means you are a bastard.
Yeah, he's saying he's a bastard, and then Sam's
So
going, no,
Bran,
he's,
for once, doesn't know something.
he's not a bastard. But again, why didn't Bran tell Jon this in advance? Look, you're related to the Targaryens. Because he wanted to creepily narrate Jon's sex scene, that's why. He wanted to wait. Basically...
Do you think Bran is also watching the sex scene?
Oh, Bran's loving it, like.
He definitely
Because he
is.
says, I can see the
He's
past and I can see the present.
Yeah, you can see everything that's going on. But also, do you know who else is watching? Tyrion. Standing outside the door like a creep.
I know! And Bran goes, quickly watches the wedding of Jon's parents and then watches...
I liked that. I like that he has access to all of history, and Sam's like basically, oh no, they were married, and Bran's like, oh, I might go have a look.
And then he watches...
It's like Wikipedia, but like live. It's like VR Wikipedia. That's what the Three-Eyed
But
Raven
Bran
is.
being a complete creep. And then he briefly sees the sister whisper to Ned Stark, his name is Aegon Targaryen.
Yes.
Yeah, we saw that last season. Like, none of this is news to us.
No, we didn't get his name.
Yeah,
did
but we knew
No.
what she was saying. And like, fine, Aegon Targaryen's a really famous
But everybody,
conqueror.
okay, we had a quick scan online before we came outside to this beautiful weather, and everyone was saying like, oh my god, what a big reveal twist at the end of Game of Thrones. There's no twist. We had all this information.
Twist is that he's legitimate and the actual heir to the
Sorry,
Iron
yeah,
Throne.
but we had that information 2 episodes ago.
Yeah,
when
but you're
Tilly
forgetting
told
that
Sam.
we watch Game of Thrones with a very analytical mind, and we read what people are saying about it, we listen to people talking about it. Some people just watch this show and actually can't remember everything because it's outrageously ludicrous how much information is thrown at you.
Okay.
So I don't think 100% of viewers knew this. Now we do need to discuss the sex scene I've been waiting all season for. Jon just shows up really romantically at her bedroom.
I'm not into this. I don't know why you're so into it.
Well, no, the funny thing is I wasn't happy with this.
Was it disappointing
I've
for
been
you?
shipping them so much, and then
Shipping.
he shows up at the door and like he's almost like too awkward, like they'd no chemistry. And then I heard something during the week which kind of turned me off them as well, which was so you know the way obviously she says aunt.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever percentage an aunt and nephew are normally related, these two are related way more than that because the Targaryens are so inbred.
Oh, of course.
So these two are like super related, right? So I do know that,
And that's what drove the Mad King mad, was all the incest.
yeah, and I think
So
I think these
their
two are going to
child's
have
gonna
a
be
baby,
mad.
basically. And Tyrion is an absolute creep. He's nearly as creepy as Bran because he's watching from the corner. And then it was just an awkward sex scene. I don't know what you thought about it. It was brief. First of all, Game of Thrones, we say it's lost its teeth around violence. Certainly lost its teeth around sex and nudity as well. There's been none this season. Not that I wanted a really salacious scene, but it was just all a bit...
Well, I mean,
Whatever.
any sex scene is going to be undermined by a creepy character narrating over it, explaining that the two characters are related.
Yeah, maybe that's why
Yeah.
I wasn't into it. I'd have rather them it would be a different setting and they'd
Imagine-
like
okay.
some wine or something.
Imagine Jack and Rose in the car in Titanic, and then Morgan Freeman's voice comes over and says, "Little did Jack know that Rose was actually his second cousin."
No, his aunt. More related than most aunts. So yeah, she's definitely.
I don't know why
getting
Morgan
pregnant.
Freeman. But
Yeah, why is Morgan Freeman?
As soon as
Wouldn't it be like Billy Zane or
as soon
someone?
as you think narration, I jump to Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, but so first of all, I'm glad I was right, because if anyone goes back and listens to the start of this season, I predicted this and you told me I was wrong.
Okay.
And then secondly,
you were bang on the money.
Secondly, it's so bloody hot. I'm going to need to go into.
Yeah. Okay.
So we cut to Sansa and Arya, and
We're
they're
just walking around
bonding.
the field.
And Arya says, "I never could have
I like
survived
this
what
scene.
you survived." And then Sansa says, "You're the strongest person I know." And I nearly cried at this, because finally they're empathizing and understanding and communicating with each other, and it made me less annoyed about the scenes with them last week, because I felt like, okay, maybe they needed to have those scenes to justify this. And somebody sent us a link on Twitter, and I forget who sent it, but it was a link to this woman talking about how Sansa is like, we know she's a victim of sexual abuse, and Arya was almost making her like victim blaming her last time, and that actually was a really awful scene to witness, and I hadn't thought of it in that way, but it was really horrible. What Arya was almost victim blaming Sansa, and I really like that she said this time, "I wouldn't have survived what you survived." And then they both quote kind of their father, "Lone wolf dies but a pack survives," and they say, "I miss him," and I miss him too. And that was
And it
like
was
the scene.
it looked beautiful.
It looked stunning, and so that's the scene I've been waiting for with them, and I love that they achieved it together. And even, I know it's really dark the way Arya is like a murderer and stuff, but I really enjoyed in the last scene the way Sansa committed Littlefinger to death, and then Arya like did it. That's a really powerful thing the two women did. I wouldn't say that happens very often in Westeros. It would always be a knight or a male knight or something.
Yeah.
Do you think Arya's going to take his face?
Nothing bonds two sisters together like murdering somebody.
But I was thinking Arya might take his face.
Yeah.
And then go back, because she wants to go back and kill Cersei, right? That was her initial goal of this season.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
So she could show up as Littlefinger to Cersei, because Cersei has no one. So Cersei would probably let Littlefinger in the door.
She'd be like, "Oh, Littlefinger."
She'd be like, "I'm so bored. I'm
What's
just
up?"
hanging out with this mountain guy who like can't even speak." She doesn't have her lover anymore. She doesn't have anyone, does she?
She's got Euron and Dr. Frankenstein.
Euron, who's a
Also, I
complete...
forgot to say, I loved how, I forget the hand of the Queen's name, but the Dr. Frankenstein dude, when he picks up the White Walker's arm and he's like, "Oh, look at this."
Yeah, he's like, yes.
He loved that.
He loved it. And then we finally cut to the last scene, which was, I don't know why they needed to show us that Bran was seeing it. That was pointless. They could have just
Bran
cut straight to
sees
the scene.
everything and does nothing.
Yeah, so basically Bran's pointless. And it's the army of the dead marching. And then from Eastwatch perspective, from the wall with Tormund and them, I thought, if these guys are all marching, they know fire damages them, why aren't they throwing burning pitch on them, which was raised as a possibility at like the start of this episode? They're just watching them.
I don't know. They don't have that up there, I guess. I don't know.
And then 1-1 shows up.
Anyway, that's not 1-1.
It was 1-1.
It's not 1-1.
And a load of those zombie whites that we talked about last week. And then the zombie dragon shows up, but even that was just like, yeah, we knew he was going to show up. Like,
yeah, it was quite cool seeing the blue ice lightning fire.
I thought it looked
whatever
really
it is.
fake. I thought it looked like a video game.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think? What do you think of the special effects?
I thought it was quite cool. I thought it was pretty cool seeing that, but then they just destroyed the wall and kept going. So I don't know. It was a bit. Is Tormund dead? I don't know. Probably not, because they don't kill anyone anymore.
But if Tormund died, it's a bit silly of them to have just kind of killed him off in that way, because we deserved a death in this episode. We did get Littlefinger, which was satisfying, but I don't know if you'd kill such a good character like that.
I mean, at least, look, the White Walkers are finally south of the wall now. But I thought it was pretty uninteresting the way it happened in the end. Cause
we knew they were going to get south of the wall. We've known that for ages. It's not.
Do you remember there were all these theories of, Bran breaking the magical barriers and all that? I was like, all that is a lot more interesting than just, they just blew it up.
Yeah, they just blew it up with their zombie dragon.
Yeah. I must say, I think this episode was disappointing. I enjoyed a lot of it. It was good to watch. This is obviously still one of the best shows on TV.
That's what we need to say. We're not being by any other show standards.
No, you couldn't say this was bad.
No,
and nor was this season bad. But really,
they've this is the final episode of the penultimate season of the biggest, most talked about show in the world that has unlimited budget, has everything going for it, and to give us an episode that's been entirely predicted.
There were no surprises here. I think the show has become less interesting. I think this whole
this is probably why George R.R. Martin stopped writing the books. I think he wrote himself into a hole. And I really admire these showrunners who both wrote this episode as well. I really admire them like, it's a very difficult task that George R. R. Martin himself can't do, which is to tie it all up and continue to make it interesting when, like, as we say, you've gotten rid of all the human players and manipulation.
Yeah.
Now, if this final season is really just them all fighting against White Walkers, and apparently all the episodes are going to be this long of the final season, I just can't see myself staying engaged with it. I don't know about you.
Oh, I'm in till the end.
Oh,
you
I'll
know that.
watch it,
Yeah.
but I can't see myself dying to watch it every week.
Yeah, I just wish there'd been more surprises, and the one surprise they did give us, as I said, was embarrassing. So yeah, I don't know, but it was still a good watch.
It was good, and look, again, I'm like basically probably in like the early stages of labour, so I'm not the right person to be judging something, and I was really tired. But it certainly wasn't, for me, it was one of the weaker episodes of the whole season.
Yeah,
And
just anticlimactic.
yeah, anticlimactic.
Okay,
So, yeah.
let's wrap it up and go inside because
But
it's
thanks everyone for
roasting.
listening to these, because
Yes.
obviously we're a cinema podcast, and we've had a lot of fun doing this review, and we've got really good response, so we're really happy.
And
with
thanks for
feedback.
all the feedback. We've had the most feedback.
We've never had this much feedback about our
any
podcast.
episodes we've done.
Yeah, and people are so nice as well. Just writing really complimentary things, and that's nice. Including people who've told us they use it to exercise with, which I like.
If you've Rachel from last week, who we mentioned, said she was running up a hill when she heard her shout out.
Yeah.
And so I said maybe we should give her some motivational.
Yeah.
Come on, Rachel! If you're running up a hill, you could do it.
Yeah.
Right.
So hopefully it's a bank holiday Monday, and you're not doing that.
If you enjoyed listening, please give us a review on iTunes. Just head in there and just give us a quick star rating and a couple of words if you can. It really helps us out, and we massively appreciate it. And we're also on all of the social medias. Just search The Cinemile at The Cinemile.
Yes, on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to say, right, I thought me and Dave should have done a special episode last night, but he wasn't up for it, on the Cormoran Strike adaptation on BBC One. So for anyone who doesn't know, these are the J.K. Rowling crime books that she wrote as the pseudonym Robert Galbraith. I've read all the books, I really like them, and Dave's read one of them. So BBC One adapted
Yeah, they're
it,
good.
and the first part aired last night, which I perceived as a cinematic event. Dave didn't, so we didn't review it. But I think people should go and watch that. It was good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, fun PI sort of thing.
Yeah, really fun. And what was really interesting about it is the actors in it, whilst being accomplished, are by no means big actors for such a big show. And then we were chatting about it, and we were saying, well, it's because if you've got J.K. Rowling as the name, you don't need to spend loads of money getting famous actors as well. What you can do is actually cast actors that are perfect for the roles.
Yeah, I forget the guy's name.
Oh, he's incredible.
He's really good.
He's like Cormoran Strike has leapt out of the book and is real. Like, that's the only way I can describe.
He's really good, and there's a lot to be said for casting unknown actors.
And he's not. And he's an accomplished actor. He's been in lots
Yes,
of stuff,
but
he's not famous.
He's not a name, and he's
Yeah.
not a face. And then he's better able to sort of jump into this role.
He was
and actually,
unbelievable. He's exactly as I imagined him.
But tying it back into Game of Thrones, I think that's partly is a big strength of the show, because the only really known actor when this started was Sean Bean. And
Yeah.
he was a draw at the beginning. But even he fits right into this.
And
sort
he
of
wasn't even, he's not
fantasy
exactly the
universe.
huge actor. He was big, but he wasn't like
Yeah.
A-list Hollywood. So I really enjoyed that. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, just because we're doing a TV podcast and we're finishing this up now, we're behind the times on this one because we lived in Australia when it launched. So we kind of missed the UK hype about it. But we've been catching up on Line of Duty. It's on Netflix.
Oh yeah, we're up to
Huh.
season 3 now. Check that out on Netflix. The first 2 seasons are there, and we just got the 3rd season on Amazon.
Yeah, we're really dedicated. We watched 2 on Netflix. Now
It
we
is
bought one on
great
Amazon. It is so good.
Really good police thriller.
Yeah.
BBC police thriller, very, very good. Set
So
in an internal
these are all great
affairs
maternity
department.
leave watches at the moment. So yeah, anyway,
Yeah,
just
let's
other
finish up.
TV recommendations, and thank you for
and
listening.
so you probably won't hear from us until we've had our baby.
Well,
but we've-
hopefully we have it soon.
Yeah, the wait is getting longer. We're going to put up a couple of episodes in the meantime that we've recorded and banked. We went to the outdoor cinema in Addlestone to watch Grease and Top Gun.
Yeah, we saw Grease ages ago, but we said we keep it because we don't need to tie it in with the cinema, obviously. I can't even... So I think we saw Grease like nearly 2 months ago, so we've had that episode on the back burner, and then we saw Top Gun a few weeks ago.
So watch, keep an eye out for them, and let's wrap it up. Let's
Yeah,
go inside.
okay.
Thanks
Bye.
for listening. Bye.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
What do you do when no one else is watching? What do you do that makes you happy for no reason at all? What are you obsessed with? I'm Leslie Arfin, and I'm a writer, but I'm also a dancer, a painter, a vapor, a dollhouse enthusiast, and basically just an overall hobbyist. My podcast, Filling the Void, is all about what other people are fanatically into. We talk about hobbies, even if you don't have one.
Listen to Filling the Void on Tuesdays on the Arios Network and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.